Hello and welcome to Monday's programme.
Tonight, we're putting a spotlight on stalking as victims call for urgent changes to the law. Two people who were left living in fear shared their stories and encourage others to come forward.
Ran into my bedroom, opened my wardrobe door, and then lo and behold, he was sat there in the wardrobe. I just screamed and ran.
I'm angry with the law and the whole process.
With reports of stalking on the rise, we speak to those who support victims and tell you how to spot the signs. Also tonight,
I'll have all your sports news, I'll have the results from over the weekend, and I'll be telling you why today is such a big day in the history of Bristol City Football Club.
And as we work our way through spring, it's easy to forget just how strong the sun is, particularly on what looks like a pretty decent week of weather ahead.
a very good evening. Victims of stalking are tonight calling for more protection and a better understanding of a crime that left them living in constant fear. A woman from Gloucestershire says being stalked meant she became a prisoner in her own home. Another victim told us his life had changed when a former patient from Bristol secretly stalked him for 4 years.
Well, stalking is a prolific crime that 1 in 5 women have reported experiencing and 1 in 11 men. But charities say it still takes victims up to 100 incidents before it reaches crisis point and they report it to the police. Well, this week is National Stalking Awareness Week, and we'll be exploring what police and charities are doing to tackle stalking and hear for calls for urgent changes. Now, we think we know what stalking is, but tonight we'll look at details which might even surprise you. First, 2 victims are sharing their shocking stories with us to help others. And a warning, you might find some of the details distressing.
He's in this house, I know he's here. Ran up the stairs, sliding along floors and looking under beds, whipping back the shower curtain, opening up every door I could. And that's when I thought, I think I know where he is.
If you come in a car that is sealed in polythene, crossbows ready to fire, written protocols on how to be forensically clean, basically it's coming to take me.
2 people whose lives have been scarred by stalking, Ian and Hannah. They agreed to share their experiences to help others come forward. Hannah's stalker was an ex-partner and Ian's a former dental patient.
But the stalking really, as I say, kicked in obviously once the relationship ended, and that's when the presents were turning up, the appearing in places when I'd not told him that I was going to be. It was the constant communications, constant phone calls. I looked out my back window and lo and behold, he was there in the garden, throwing stones at that window. I was trying very, very slowly to cut off social media sort of contact, which I think sent him into just meltdown because he couldn't contact me.
There was a person who I treated and there was a difference of opinion regarding the end result. I'd referred them to both consultants and professors who both agreed the work was fine. So 4 years, didn't hear from them until one night I received a phone call from the police saying they had arrested somebody outside the house. The minute they mentioned their name, I knew exactly who it was.
I'm terrified to go home because I was spending most nights just sitting up till early hours in the morning, sitting in the dark thinking, I'm so scared. Like, I cannot explain the loneliness that it also you feel. I'd woke up in the morning at my friends and so many missed calls galore. Where are you, where are you, where are you? Trying to contact me on every platform. So I went to go home and my friend was like, well, you're not going home on your own. I'll come with you. So we went round, we had a little look around, and my friend was like, I'll have a little look upstairs, make sure everything's all okay. So she sort of left to walk around my back garden, and I went to shut my back door. As I was doing that, that's when the whole glass window just fell through from that back door. My friend heard me scream because it made me jump. And at that point, that's when I was like, he's in this house. I know he's here. Ran into my bedroom, opened my wardrobe door, and then lo and behold, he was sat there in the wardrobe. I just screamed and ran because I just didn't know what the thought process was going on with him or what was going to happen. So all I knew was I just needed to get out of the room.
Knives, axes. Basically, he was coming to take me to the local woods, torture, dismember, spread me around, and then he would just be forensically clean and there'd be no connection.
Ian Stalker was jailed and given an extensive restraining order, which he broke shortly afterwards and was jailed again. Ian had to change everything about his life and his outlook, but not his will to change the law.
He went to the court, but because I was unaware I'd been stalked and researched for 4 years, it was regarded as a low-level crime, and it was stalking without menace, despite the intent of going equipped to murder.
Are you angry?
I suppose a little bit angry. I mean, I'm angry with the law and the whole process.
Obviously, the huge effect it had on me was that psychological kind of torture that I felt I was living in, and that being a prisoner in my own home and being lost and alone and scared all the time.
Hannah's stalker didn't leave her alone and was remanded in prison awaiting trial. But it didn't stop. From there, he rang her 128 times. He eventually pleaded guilty to stalking and was sentenced and banned from going anywhere near her.
If it's enough to make you feel that you are either at risk or you're being harassed or you're being just made to feel uncomfortable, then if they're your fears and they're worthwhile.
Trust your gut instinct. They always say that, and yeah, I was being watched, but I ignored my gut and went on logic, which was, wrong.
Well, our thanks to Hannah and Ian for sharing their stories with us. Well, in response to Ian's calls for a change in the law, Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls, Jess Phillips, said the ordeal Ian and other victims have suffered as a result of stalking is appalling. No one should have to live with this kind of fear. We know more needs to be done. That's why we recently commissioned an urgent independent review of stalking legislation to ensure our laws are strong enough to protect victims and hold perpetrators to account. Well, Ian and Hannah's stories are two frightening and very different examples of where stalking has escalated to an extreme level.
But how do we recognise the signs before it reaches crisis point? Those working to support victims tell us.
If you think about the scariest part of a scary film, it's not when the monster jumps out, it's before the monster jumps out. And that is how victims have explained to me stalking makes them feel.
I would liken it to a prison sentence. It traps victims completely within their lives.
Stalking isn't new, but the line between what it is and what it isn't still isn't always clear. And that confusion can stop victims from calling it out. Now, there is a guide that's used by experts to help define it. They use the word for. Is the behaviour fixated? obsessive, unwanted, and repeated, causing the victim fear or distress.
It can range from following someone, lurking in the shadows, all the things that people might traditionally think about stalking. And sometimes it's really ordinary behaviours like text messages, phone calls, emails.
If you have somebody who turns up everywhere you go, follows you on your usual routes to work, is intercepting your mail, is talking to your friends and family, even your employer about you, it permeates every aspect of your life. So what do you have left that you have control over? Not much.
1 in 7 people over the age of 16 have reported being a victim of stalking.
The majority of stalking victims that I have worked with have been women who have been targeted by men who won't leave them alone for whatever reason. However, men are stalked. Men do face particular barriers when it comes to reporting stalking and being taken seriously. And the things that typically men would be scared of is, I'm scared of what she could say. I'm scared about the lies that she could make up about me. I'm scared of her behaviour towards me.
On average, it takes 100 stalking incidents before people report it. So why are people so reluctant?
The issue that many victims may experience is minimisation, either from others or they themselves will minimise it. Coincidences are very rare. And if you are being stalked by someone, the fact that you have seen your stalker on that high street that afternoon could be explained by coincidence. It's not likely. Log it.
If someone's behaviour towards you is making you feel uncomfortable, if they're overstepping the mark, transgressing your boundaries, take notice of that because it could develop into stalking. That's how stalking starts.
There is so much that we can do to help you feel heard in your own words, but we believe you.
So, if you think you're being stalked, what's the advice? Well, as we've heard, stalking can be defined by the following behaviour: fixated, obsessive, unwanted and repeated that's causing fear or distress. You can remember it with the word for. Now, experts recommend that you tell someone, tell the police. But if you're not ready to do that, contact one of the many charities that can help you assess what to do next. And talk to trusted family or friends. Tell your work if you can. Next, the advice is write it down, log it, record everything. All contact online, in person or in messages. Take screen grabs. And make a note of how it made you feel, which could prove useful later. As we've heard, it takes on average 100 incidents before people report stalking to the police. And usually when it's escalated, it's hard to remember all the details of what happened. Next, review your security, both at home and online. Experts say change your passwords and use two-factor authentication. Vary your daily routine. Take different routes to and from your destinations. Limit the information you share online, especially places you frequent or plan to go. And don't block. This could feel counterintuitive, but it can result in someone trying to find another way to contact you. And finally, trust your instinct. It's very common that people say, I don't want to get someone into trouble, but if someone else's behaviour is affecting your life, that's not okay. There are incredible charities out there to offer support and help you decide what to do.
Well, we are putting a spotlight on stalking all this week, and over on our website you can find a summary of everything you need to know. And there's lots of information and support if you've been affected by anything you've seen. And on the programme tomorrow, we'll hear about the work the police are doing to improve their response to stalking and support for victims. Well, the ITV News continues after us as usual with the national and international stories at 6:30. Here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the programme, the Prime Minister fights for his survival as he updates the Commons over the Peter Mandelson vetting scandal. The decline of public toilets across England that's leaving many with nowhere to go. And the zoologist and author Desmond Morris has died at the age of 98. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now we have more of the day's news, and it's been announced that Bristol Blue Glass is to close permanently. It follows a successful campaign to save the business when their lease ended, but now the firm says it can't continue due to the ill health of its managing directors and rising costs. It'll mean the end of a centuries-old tradition of glassmaking in the city.
Hundreds of people have demonstrated against Bristol Airport's latest expansion plans. They gathered on Felton Common to protest against planning proposals to seize part of the public land for landing lights to accommodate an extended runway. The airport says replacement land would mean no overall loss of open space.
And dog owners are being urged to keep their pets on leads around wildlife to keep nests safe during bird breeding seasons. It comes after a male swan, which had been nesting beside a canal path in Bradford-on-Avon, had to be put down after a suspected dog attack. Volunteers from Bath Swan Rescue say they're monitoring the site closely.
Right, time now for the sport with news of Bristol Rovers making some history.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
And Ross joins us in the studio. Ross, Rovers, a remarkable season for them now.
Now, exactly right. Now, yeah, probably one of the most topsy-turvy seasons I can remember in football. But yeah, what a season it's been for the Gas. This year, they have had both one of their worst runs of form in their history and their best run of form for over 70 years. This weekend, they travelled to Tranmere and came away with a 2-1 win and all 3 points for the 7th consecutive match. The first time they've done that since 1953, a record 73 years in the making. Remember that one, Seb? There you are.
Yeah.
Elsewhere in that division, a big win for Steve Cotterill and Cheltenham Town. George Miller got the only goal of the game at Whaddon Road against Newport as the Robins moved up to 17th in the table, their third league win in a row. Swindon Town, they're clinging on to their spots in the League Two playoffs. They drew 2-2 with Accrington, goals from their forward players, Ollie Palmer and the newly crowned League Two Player of the Year, the division's top scorer, Aaron Drinnan. He salvaged a point for Ian Holloway's side. So let's take a little look at the League Two table then. Swindon Town, well, they're still in the playoff positions, but they're up against Grimsby Town next. That's a side who are hoping to take their place in the top 7. Obviously, 4 sides go up. Hopefully, Swindon are able to cling on. We'll see. Now from one Robins to another, at Ashton Gate, Bristol City suffered their first defeat under Roy Hodgson. They took an early lead, but after having a second wrongfully disallowed, City went down 4-2 to Norwich. All the visitors' goals in that one coming in the second half. Something, though, that will cheer up Bristol City fans. Today is a very special day in their history. It marks 50 years since the night they last secured promotion to the top flight. In 1976, the club beat Portsmouth at Ashton Gate 1-0. There were huge celebrations, both in the stands and then after the final whistle in the dressing room. A lot of that side actually is still regularly seen at Ashton Gate. Players like the captain Jeff Merrick, Dave Rogers and Paul Cheesley. You sometimes even see a 91-year-old Alan Dix. There he is, enjoying champagne. He was the club's manager 5 decades ago. He's still often spotted in the stands.
He's so smart in celebrating, trying to not get the drink on his...
Yeah, champagne for the
Yeah, you
winners.
remember that one as well, don't you?
Of course. It seems like yesterday. Well, let's talk about Ashton Gate, because it saw some success over the weekend as well.
It did, yeah. Obviously, those historic pictures potentially mirrored by Friday night. That's right, yeah. Before City's loss to Norwich, we had the small matter of a West Country derby in rugby's Prem. Bristol Bears continued their playoff push after easing to a comfortable 53-12 bonus point win over rivals Gloucester. Pat Lamb's side secured the win thanks to 7 tries, including 2 from Calaveti Ravalval. It's the Bears' highest ever points total against the Cherry and Whites, and the win closes the gap on 4th and the playoff spots. Elsewhere, Bath, they scored an impressive 8 tries to beat Harlequins. Santi Carrera scored twice for the dominant blue, black and white. So a final score of 48 points to 15 mean Bath remain a point behind Northampton Saints at the top of the Prem table. There he is. Now, on to round 2 of the Women's Six Nations. A host of West Country players helped England to thrash Scotland. Bristol Bears star Sarah Burns scored twice for the Red Roses, and Gloucester Hartbury's Emma Singh also scored a try in an 84-7 win. Now, if you were out and about over the weekend, you may have seen this. Nearly 1,500 cyclists circumnavigated the South Gloucestershire countryside for the annual Tour de Bristol. It's the biggest fundraising event of the year, all raising money for St Peter's Hospice. We were there to see them off at the start.
Oh, a fantastic event that was, right?
Very
I
good.
did see a lot of riders.
There you go.
Russ, thank you. Right, it's that time. It's weather time, start of another week. Charlie's at the Met Office for us. So Charlie, go on then, tell us, is it going to be a nice week ahead?
Yeah, I mean, it will be, and it's got off to a pretty decent start. We've got high pressure close by. You'll see that in the forecast in just a moment. But yeah, some glorious weather right from the word go. It was a chilly start. Our camera operator, Matt, was out to Colford in Somerset earlier on today with some wild garlic. I've got this wrong before, so correct me if that is the case, but some lovely, nice brightness working through the woods and temperatures gradually picking up, but just like a lot of really nice lush green scenery to be had. And then later on, as the sun really got to work, well, temperatures started to rise up a little bit higher. Our very own Ken Goodwin sending these through from just outside Gloucestershire, with the oilseed rapefields filling in the colour from the ground up, while the sun was giving us plenty of blue sky above. In between, some cloud that did fill in just a little bit through the course of the daytime, but we're very much back into the zone of having some big ranges between the daytime temperatures and the nighttime temperatures. So getting close to freezing last night and then up to around 15 or so degrees today. So yeah, it's still very much spring when it comes to those temperature differentials, isn't it?
Oh, it's always such a delight when you see the bright yellow fields, isn't it? And it's always earlier than I think. I would say, oh, it feels so summery, but of course it's not. It's late spring. Charlie, actually, it is in many ways more summery than we do think in terms of the UV, isn't it?
Yeah, the sun strength is always a tricky thing to kind of get your head around, because although it doesn't feel that warm, the sun can still be really quite strong. And you've got to remember that it's nothing to do with how hot it feels, it's to do with how high in the sky that sun is. This graph here gives you an idea of how the UV changes as we head through the months of the year, right up towards high at the height of the summer, sometimes a little bit higher than that. Now, these dashed lines I've added here show where we are right now, end of April, approaching the early part of May. So we're not too far from getting into that high category already. That's always a bit of a surprise. But look at the second line here. The sun at the moment is about as strong as it is during the late part of August and early part of September. And that's often something to forget. So this week looks pretty good, but it may well be worth having a bit of sun protection to hand.
Today's forecast, blue skies, followed by a spread of hot and cold plates. TUI sponsors ITV West Country weather.
Well, we are looking at some pretty fine weather as we work our way through this week. It's been lovely today. We should see more of that nice, fine, strong sunshine as we work our way through the rest of this week, although it might turn a little bit windy as we work our way through Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe into Thursday as well, because although we've got high pressure close by, stuck to the north of the UK ends up giving us an easterly wind. And as this area of low pressure gets a bit closer, the isobars just squeeze up. So I think late Wednesday into Thursday, we could see some stronger winds, but maybe also a bit more cloud and just occasional showers cropping up as well. But that's a fly in the ointment, really. For the rest of this evening tonight, dry, pretty clear skies, cloud melting away, and with light winds, we'll see those temperatures back down to low single figures. So a little bit of frost in the countryside, maybe, and just a generally chilly night. Not too dissimilar to last night, really. And more fine weather to come as we head into tomorrow. So again, a dry day, probably a little less cloud than today, but also a bit more of a breeze picking up. So we'll see temperatures again up into the mid-teens quite happily, but the breeze might make it just feel ever so slightly fresh, certainly down towards the south coast. Windier still as we head through Wednesday, but temperatures picking up a little bit and generally sticking with a pretty decent fine theme.
TUI sponsors ITV West Country weather.
Oh, look at that.
I know, it looks nice. And it's going to be windy later this week.
I know, temperatures, but yeah, some slightly stronger winds. Have a look at this pretty jazzy graphic here. Now, it's not something I show very often, but the colours on here are slightly different to anything we normally see. They denote the wind speed in terms of gusts. There's a bit of a handy key on the side there just to give you an idea. So yeah, as well as some pretty fine skies and okay weather, we may well see some pretty strong winds during the course of tomorrow into Wednesday. The colours here indicating that perhaps up to 50 or 60 mile-an-hour gusts, even down towards the Dorset coast, some noticeably strong winds and possibly some pretty large waves down there as well.
Oh, OK.
It takes the edge off a bit, though, doesn't it? But I like the weather temperature tickling. Charlie, thank you so much for that.
It's like tickling a trout, isn't it? That's what they do.
Similar.
That's it from the two of us. I'll have the late news at 10:50.
That's from us all. Thank you for watching. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.